Hello Year 6. I bet you can't wait to start the next chapter of your school life and begin your journey here at Holy Cross. My name is Mr Callander and I will be your head of year when you arrive in September. So what is a head of year? Well, my job is to make sure that you're happy at Holy Cross and to make sure your transition from primary to secondary is as smooth as it can be. I have two roles. One is to make sure that your learning environment is the best it can be and to reach your full potential. And two, and to make sure you're happy and resolve any issues that you may have. However, I cannot do this on my own. I have an assistant head of year. I have a fantastic tutor team, and one of them tutors will be your form tutor next year when you arrive. Quite similar to your class teacher at primary school. Your form tutor is a person you will see every single morning, and any issues you may have, you're going to see your form tutor about. And that'll also be the person your parents will also get in contact with, especially when you first arrive. At Holy Cross, we also have a school chaplain, we have a school counsellor, we have many staff that will help you through this transition period and when you first arrive and your entire 5 years at Holy Cross. Many staff who will help you. So at Holy Cross we believe if you love God, work hard and be kind, you will all flourish. As well as being your head of year, I'm also in charge of food technology. Before talking about my subject, I'm going to tell you and show you how to make a simple shortbread recipe. Okay, first thing you need to do is obviously put your apron on, so you don't bring it outside in for hygiene purposes and to protect your clothes. Okay, and then I'm sure you do this at home. You need to wash your hands then. So we have a separate hand wash basin. So in warm or hot soapy water, you wash your hands all the way through the fingers, all over the hands, so there's no bacteria going to go into the food. So you do that all the way through, and then you dry it. I use kitchen roll, and then into the bin. Okay, so now your hands are clean, you now make the shortbread recipe. Okay, it's very simple. In the bowl, you've got 50 grams of caster sugar and 100 grams of butter. I prefer using butter than margarine. A, it tastes better. Butter's got a much better taste than margarine, and it's not as greasy. Margarine is very greasy. It doesn't come from a cow, it's non-dairy, so it's synthetic from oil or plants. Okay, so it's very greasy when you spread it. So that's why I prefer using butter. The reason you use caster sugar, it's in granulated sugar that you have in your mum and dad's cups of teas when they're at home, is it's a lot finer. Okay, so you don't have that horrible like crunchy taste when you bite into something. So first thing you're going to do, you're going to cream your butter with the caster sugar. Okay, and I've already said it's 100 grams of butter and 50 grams of caster sugar. Creaming is a terminology meaning you're using the back of your spoon to cream the mixture so it's nice and smooth. Okay, so you do that to see it all come together now. I suggest, because butter's obviously very hard, alright, you leave your block of butter out overnight. It'll be fine, just leave it covered overnight and that'll make it nice and soft. Or if you're making later on in the afternoon, just leave it on the side in the kitchen during the day until you use it. Okay, otherwise it'll be too hard. As you wash your hands, if you find it is a little bit too hard, it's not creamed together, you can use your hands because they are clean and the heat of your hands will help to melt the butter a bit more. What you don't want is any lumps of butter, any big lumps of butter actually in the bowl, okay? Otherwise, once again, you end up with a very greasy biscuit or cookie, okay? So, I'm sure you've all had them before. You've been to some shops or restaurants or cafes, you got a biscuit and it's quite greasy underneath. That's because it's not been creamed properly enough. Okay, then you add your plain flour. That's 150 grams of plain flour, okay? The reason we use plain flour, once again, not self-raising flour, is because you don't want it to rise, okay? There's no actual raising agent in this. There's no yeast, no egg, no self-raising flour, no baking powder, no bicarbonate of soda. So you want it to be a nice, flat, crispy cookie. So when you bake it, there's a nice crisp, you know, like a nice snap to it. Okay? So then you add your flour. This flour has been sieved. The reason why I use sieve flour is a few reasons actually. Firstly, to get rid of lumps. That's the main reason. Secondly, if you're making things like meringue or cake, it's that air into it, so you use a sieve. And the actual hygiene reason why, so when I was your age, back in the 1980s, remember I was at catering college for many years, and Neil Cruikshanks told me all about this, and I was a bit like, you what? Is weevils. There's a little insect that lives in flour called weevils, and it won't harm you if you eat them, but that's the main reason, hygiene reason why you actually sieve flour, because of weevils. Okay, and once again, it won't harm you. And it's not as bad now because we're in bags of flour, but mainly it was back in the 1980s and so on, but before that, people used to keep flour in a flour bin above the kettle, and the steam used to make the flour quite damp, which attracted the weevils. So, a little small black, bit like freckles. So then, you start putting it all together then, okay? You see it's quite powdery at the moment, so this is where you may also need to use your hands, because a lot of flour in this, a lot of flour. So that's why you have to make sure it's really mixed well, okay? Once it's almost mixed, then I'll add my favourite ingredient to this, which is vanilla, okay? My children, I've got 2 young children, and they find me very boring when I go to ice cream parlours, because they'll sell all of these fantastic flavours of ice cream, you know, stracciatella, you know, mint chocolate chip, honeycomb, you know, Neapolitan, and I'll stand and look at the ice cream cabinet and go, vanilla, okay, because I love vanilla. I love the flavour of vanilla. I always like the Madagascar vanilla, or the vanilla, I like vanilla pods, you know, because it's just a lovely flavour, okay. So then I'm going to put some vanilla in there now, so a capful, okay, so it's not like a cap you have in your head, a cap. So you put a cap of vanilla in there, so give it a nice flavour, okay. You can also add in this things like lemon zest, orange zest, lime zest, so a bit of a citrus flavour in there, it'd be quite nice as well. I used to put a lot of citrus in cakes especially, it gives a very nice flavour to it, okay. As you can see, it's very dry, so as I said, you have to use your hands now, okay, because you're making it into a dough. So quite similar to like pizza dough, really, isn't it? You know, you have to put it all together a bit to put together, okay. So this is a cookie dough, all right. You'll be making dough in year 7, a scone-based pizza dough, which I'll obviously talk about a little bit later on. So there, it's all coming together now. So you have to really knead it, okay. So it all comes together, a bit like pastry as well. But the very important thing about pastry is that once you got into a bowl, you never overhandle pastry and let it chill for a while. Otherwise, you won't be able to roll it out; it will sort of break up as you're doing it. See there, it's almost come together then. So it's almost come together. You add your chocolate chips. Okay. Once again, you could have things like raisins, currants, sultanas, which are dry grapes. Honeycomb's very nice in biscuits. It gives it quite a nice caramelised flavour. There's many things in there. You can have cranberries, dried apricots, anything at all. But I'm going to put chocolate chips in, because we all like chocolate chips. So, see there, I'm now basically mixing now the chocolate chips in with the actual cookie dough. Okay, so that's your actual cookie dough made then, your shortbread. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to one side now, and then you get yourself a baking tray with a piece of baking paper on it, or baking parchment, or greaseproof paper, or whatever you've got at home. A little tip for you, by the way. If you haven't got any baking paper, you can either grease the tray, okay, but once again, that'll make the underneath the biscuit quite greasy. Or, if you have foil at home, the dull side of the foil, not the shiny side, is also grease-proof, non-stick. So you can put that on there as well if you want. I use it quite a lot at home, just to save some of my baking paper. So you can use the dull side of the foil if need be. Okay, so you get yourself a cutter. It's very important that the cutter's the same size, by the way. So don't have a big one on your tray and a small one, otherwise the small one will be burnt, the big one will be raw. Okay, so that's be the exact same size as well. You're not going to roll this out because it's quite soft, okay? So you just literally soften your hand a bit. You can put a little bit of flour on the table, but I think this will probably be alright. Then you push it down, and you make sure it's about a centimetre of depth. Push it, shake it a bit to loosen it, and then put it onto your tray. So you want it about that size, okay? Do a few more to show you. So you can see there now, because it's plain flour, no raisin agent, it won't rise, okay? Because it won't rise, it won't go expand this way either. So it doesn't matter how close they are. So when you make anything like cakes or anything with a raisin agent, if they were that close, they'll stick together, okay? So it actually doesn't matter with this because there's no raisin agent, so they won't expand at all. There's no egg, there's no self-raising flour, no baking powder at all, okay? So you do that again. And oh, by the way, self-raising flour, all that is plain flour with the addition of baking powder in it. That's all it is. So you don't have any self-raising flour at home when you're making cakes, but you do have baking powder and you do have plain flour. That's just the same, okay? And the reason why people add baking powder and self-raising flour to cakes is because self-raising flour doesn't have a big lift, so you have to have another lift with the actual bit of baking powder in it. So there we go. So you see out of that recipe there, I made 5. Okay, unfortunately a little bit left over there to one side. Right, then it's going to go in the oven, 180 degrees or gas mark 5, depends what your oven is, and then you place them in the oven for about literally 10 to 12 minutes until they're golden brown. Make sure you use oven gloves obviously when you take them out. Anyway, whilst the cookies are cooking, I'm going to talk to you about my actual teaching area, food technology. So this is the food technology kitchen. Had a recent refurb 3 years ago now. It used to be where music is now. So I had a brand new kitchen fitted. So you've got like 12 cookers in here, 12 sinks. So it's a lot more space, and it's a fantastic view of Rivington Pike from the windows, which really makes you happy, especially on a nice hot summer's day like today. I'm part of design technology, which is product design, food technology and art. You do all 3 subjects on an 8-week carousel over the course of year 7 and year 8 and year 9. So you do art, product and food for 8 weeks in this year. Okay, this will all come explained once you get your timetable in September and your form tutor to go into more detail about all your subjects obviously when you arrive. In my subject, food, well it's actually food and nutrition, but it's food technology in year 7 and 9. You learn about nutrition and hygiene. You learn about food safety, like bacteria, things like salmonella, Clostridium perfringens, E. coli, so forth and so on. You learn about food provenance, so it's very important, that's where food comes from. So you learn about organic food, GM food, actually genetically modified food, food miles and so forth, so how the food gets to your plate, where does it come from, that kind of thing. You can learn about cakes and pastry. You can learn about raising agents, like I mentioned before, so to do with things like baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, self-raising flour, so forth and so on. But also in year 7, obviously what you really want to do is you're going to make some absolutely fantastic dishes over the course of the 8-week carousel. I'm sure you've made some wonderful things at primary school. I'm really looking forward to hear what you made at primary school. But in year 7 here you do very skill-based dishes. First and foremost, I get you into the kitchen after a couple of weeks of hygiene and nutrition, and then we do a basic fruit salad. Okay. The reason why I do fruit salad is quite similar in year 10. The reason why you make minestrone soup is to do with knife skills. Okay, so you learn how to chop up things using a knife, safely, using the bridge cut, the claw cut, the bridge cut, and to make sure that you all know exactly how to hold a knife, how to use a knife. Okay, so obviously I'll be showing you first. Also, scone-based pizza is also attached to that, so you're chopping up some vegetables as well. Once again, make sure you know how to use your knife properly. And then you make crumble and rock buns, obviously in separate lessons. So learn about the rubbing in method. Okay, so there's different ways of making cakes and sponges, that kind of stuff. Then you make shepherd's pie and risotto. Okay, so it gets you used to using a hob. Okay, there's a lot of safety using the oven and the hob. So I don't use the ovens and the hob with you properly until about week 4 or 5, just so you're a bit more confident in the kitchen environment then. The hobs are all gas and the ovens are all electric. Okay, so if there's a difference, things have happened, so that's why you need to be trained how to use a gas hob and electric oven. Dutch apple cake you also make, which once again incorporates the creaming method that I've shown you recently, but obviously, then I'll be showing you face to face how to use the cream method with cakes. And to finish with, you do Italian chocolate truffles. There's no real reason why you do Italian chocolate truffles apart from the fact they taste absolutely fantastic. It's a great way to finish your food nutrition 8-week carousel, and everyone loves chocolate truffles. So the shortbread's ready now, so I'll just get them out of the oven. Okay, year 6s, the shortbread is now ready. As I said to you before, make sure you use an oven glove, or I'm just using a dry tea towel here to take it out. Be careful you don't put it on the side of your kitchen because obviously it'll burn the side. I'm going to put ours on the cooker hood here. Quite similar to cakes and so forth. Leave them on the tray to finish off. So it's a nice golden brown colour. It's still a little bit soft because it is a biscuit. Just you're going to leave them for about 5-6 minutes just to go hard and finish off, and then you can put it on a cooling wire. It's very important when you make a cake. This is very important. People forget about this. So you make like a Victoria sandwich. Okay, is to make sure when you take it out of the oven, leave it in the tin for about a good 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, otherwise when you take it out of the tin and put it straight on the cooling wire, the cake then will melt into the cooling wire and it will stick to it. So it's very important to finish off in the tin. Don't put it straight on the cooling wire when you make a cake. Okay, so year 6s, if any of you want to make this at home, obviously the ingredients will be below, and also the school email address is also below. So if anybody want to make these, and they can send it to the school email address, and you never know, it might appear on the school Twitter account. So I hope you enjoyed my introduction as your head of year next year and your food technology teacher. I cannot wait to meet you all in September. So look after yourselves, enjoy the fabulous sunshine and weather at the moment, take care, and I'll take you over to see Miss Calvert in English.